Hey people, completely forgot to film an intro for this video, I apologize. But this is going to be video 1 of 4 of my Harry Potter themed makeup tutorials. I'm going to represent each house. If you are not a Harry Potter fan, there are 4 houses total. My sister-in-law lent me her beautiful face and she is House Slytherin, so those are the colors that we will be representing today. Right now you see me priming her eyelids and everywhere that I will be applying eyeshadow with the Hard Candy eyeshadow primer. And this will make your eyeshadow last all day. I am now putting on eyeshadow shields because I want to have a nice, fierce, sharp wing shape to her outer corners, and these shields are going to help me accomplish that. Then next I'm setting all of that primer with a neutral shadow and a fluffy brush, just to get rid of that tackiness so that I don't skip lines when I start applying her crease colors. The first color I'm going in with is Poof from the Dark Magic Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette and the Morphe M441 brush. I think you can skip this step. I don't think that it did me any favors. It didn't hurt me, but it didn't show up, so I think you could skip that. So the next color that I went in with was Potion out of that same palette in the Morphe M441 brush, and just going from the outer to the inner corner, and make sure that you wing that out on the outside corner. We are representing wizards here, people, so there's not going to be anything subtle about this makeup look. And so just get that in there. You see me using the windshield wiper motions to get that into the crease and make sure that it's nice and blended with no harsh lines. We're not going to be putting too many colors into the crease, so you're going to need to do a little bit more to make sure everything looks blended. Next, I'm going in with the Maybelline New York Eye Studio Black Gel Eyeliner and the Luxie 215 angled brush. I'm not actually going to make a wing, I'm just making this line along the shadow shield here. I don't want to create a wing on her, a typical wing I should say, because she has hooded eyelids, and for as dramatic as I want the wing shape, it's very easy to cover up everything that I would have done on her eyelids. I've done it before and I didn't want to do it this time. So using this technique is really good to give you that definite, sharp, definitive wing shape look without having to take over, or without the risk of taking over the rest of the eye. So now you see me going in with the Morphe M506 brush, and I'm using a black eyeshadow. The one I'm using is from Makeup Geek called Corrupt. Any black eyeshadow will do. And I wanted this brush because it's smaller and I can control where the product goes much easier. So I'm using this and going back in with the black eyeshadow as much as I needed to get that wing shape that I wanted, and just go back in and buff that out until I get to that black buffed out the way I want it. Now I'm going in with that Morphe M441 brush and the Potion color again, and I want to make sure that the green and the black seamlessly tie in together and blend in together. You're going to be going back and forth a lot with this look just because we're not using a ton of crease colors. And in my opinion, it really does take a lot more work to make sure that your colors look blended when you don't use as many. I guess it's just you don't have as many colors blending in together, so you got to do the work that all of those other colors would have done for you. Next, I am going in with a Morphe M433 brush. It's a little more precise and compact, and I am putting Inside Job within that same palette into her crease and putting that from the inner to the outer corner. And so I put on one coat of that, if you want to call it a coat, from inner to outer corner, and then I go back in with the Morphe M441 brush with no product on it to blend all of the edges together and make sure that it blends in with that outer corner and that black color. And I just put on that Inside Job color as many times as I want until I got the shade of green that I wanted. I think I only went back in twice to, at least with this brush, to get that green in there. Next, I did use the Morphe M506 brush and Inside Job again, just because I wanted to make it a little more concentrated into her crease. So I'm going into the crease from the inner to the outer corner again, and putting another coat of that potion on there. I'm sorry, another coat of the inside job in there. And this just helped me to control where that green was and help make it concentrated. And again, you're seeing me go back in with the Morphe M441 brush, no product on it, just making sure that everything blends together. Next, I am going in with the lid color called Trickery, and it's this beautiful shimmery foresty green shade. And I'm using the Morphe M167 brush to apply this all over the lid. And I am leaving the inner corners blank on purpose, and you're gonna see why in a minute. But after I applied all of the lid color that I wanted, I went back in with a clean Morphe M441 brush just to make sure all of the edges are blended together. Next, I'm going in with the Morphe M433 brush and the color called Temptress. I wanted a little more depth on her outer corners, and this is kind of like a midnight blue color. So I really like how this tied in. It doesn't come off as a blue, really. I don't know what to say it comes off as, but it's really awesome. And so just put that on the outer corners to give you some depth. Now I'm going in with the Smashbox concealer. Any concealer will do for this, just to highlight those inner corners that we left blank a little bit more. I really want to make the inner corners pop. I'm about to go in with a silver, and it's called Power Cut from that same palette. Slytherin's colors are silver, green, and black. And I wanted to incorporate the silver in a way that didn't brighten up the eyes too much, because Slytherin is just not bright. It's just a very dark kind of house. So you are also going to see me do a lot of back and forth, because I don't want the line from silver to green to be super harsh. I want it to be a gradient, like a seamless gradient. So you're gonna see me go back in with that Morphe M506 brush just to buff those edges together. Also making sure that we don't cover up too much of the silver. And every time that I would buff those edges, I would go back in and put on that Trickery color that was lost from any blending that we did. So you're gonna do a lot of blending back and forth with this again, just to make sure that the yellow to green looks really good, and just apply the green Trickery color as needed, because until you're done blending. And that's just kind of something I had to do with this eye look. Next, I am lining her upper lash line. I'm just using a coat of that Maybelline gel eyeliner again. I'm gonna put on false lashes, and this is just gonna help any color that would peek through to not peek through between her natural and the false lashes that we're gonna put on. Then I'm putting on a coat of mascara. This is from Ciate London. I will list it down below because I don't remember the full name of it, but it's just a black. So I tried to put the eyelashes on her before I took off the shadow shields. I don't recommend that. I would take those shadow shields off first, so what you see is glue everywhere. But I was able to clean it up. And the false lashes that we used on her were from Kiss Lashes, and they were in the style called Little Black Dress. I didn't want to put anything super long, super thick, or super dramatic because I didn't want it to take away from the eye look. I feel like this eye look, the eyeshadow itself is dramatic enough. So you do need eyelashes for this look, but I just didn't want anything that was just gonna drown out everything else that I had done. Then go in with a makeup wipe and clean up all your fallout, because we used a bunch of dark colors and you will definitely have fallout on your face. Now we are going to start on the skin. I am first priming her skin using the Veil Mineral Primer from Hourglass. It's something I highly recommend if you have oily or oily to combination skin. It's very lightweight. It doesn't have that silicone feel. I just don't like that silicone feel that certain ones have. And when you put it on, it's kind of this very light, powdery feel is the best I can describe it. Next, I'm going in with the Tarte Amazonian Clay Full Coverage Foundation. I will also list the color down below. And this is a medium to full coverage foundation that I also really like for oily to combination skin. It dries very matte, and I feel like it doesn't break up on your face at the end of the day, at least not as bad as many other foundations that I've used on my face before. And I'm using a damp Real Technique sponge to apply this and pat this all over her face. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know this is my favorite way to apply foundation. I just think it makes it melt into the skin, makes it look, just have a nicer finish, and it doesn't work up any any dry skin that you may have like a brush would do. And then I used an e.l.f. concealer brush earlier just to get into the crevices of her nose where I couldn't get to with the Technique sponge. And I take that down the neck just in case it's not her exact color, because I don't think it is, and I don't want a line of demarcation. And then next we're putting concealer. It's the Smashbox concealer. I'll link the color down, or I'll list the color down below, but they recently got rid of it. I'm so upset because this concealer is amazing. But I'll still link it down below. And I am applying that with the same damp Real Technique sponge. I did not use my Tarte CC under eye cream on her because her dark circles are nowhere near like mine. And I was going to be able to cover up everything that I needed simply using the concealer. And I like to go in with a concealer brush when I gotta go in closer to her lash line, just so I make sure that I'm covering everything up on her under eyes and not poking her in the eye or smashing her in the eye with the sponge. And then I'm taking that concealer brush with the same concealer and going around the edges of her nose, just because she had some redness, and this helped to cover up some of the redness that she had going on. Now I am setting everything using the RCMA translucent setting powder on that same damp Real Technique sponge. I pat this into the skin all along the perimeters of the face and the T-zone. I don't put this in the smile lines because I feel like it settles into the smile lines and makes them worse. To each their own. Some people say that they'll bake it into their smile lines and say that it helps it from creasing, so I guess it just depends on the person. But this is also a product that I strongly recommend for anyone with oily to combination skin. Next, I am using the Kat Von D brush number 4 to apply bronzer, and I am using the Hoola Bronzer in the color Light, and kind of a light contour going along the edges of her cheekbones and the temples of her forehead. She really doesn't need any shading on her forehead because she's got a cute tiny forehead, but I want to make sure that everything ties in. It would be weird if you had bronzer on all the other parts of her face instead of there. And just do a light contour on either side of her nose, just so her nose doesn't disappear in her face. And then I use the Morphe E41 giant fluffy brush to take that bronzer down the neck, again just to make sure we don't get a line of demarcation. Next, I'm putting a blush on her, and I'm applying it with an angled Morphe brush that does not have a number, I'm sorry. But the blush I'm using is also from Tarte, and it's the Amazonian Clay 12-hour blush, and this is in the color called Exposed. Next, I am setting her under eyes using the Essence Brighten Up powder, and I'm using the Sigma Tapered Highlighter Brush F35 to do this. Now I am lining her waterline, and I am using the Marc Jacobs Highliner in Blacquer. I am doing it, I'm putting this on her waterline now because I want to use it to smoke out the eyeshadow that we're going to put on later. This will help with the color that I want. And I am also tight lining. This is not her favorite part. I doubt this is anyone's favorite part to have done, especially if someone else is doing it on you. But this really does make the upper lash line just more dark and thick looking. And it's just a step that I can't not do. And as you can see, she enjoys it so much. Now I am using a flat definer brush, and this is the Luxie 221. and I am lining from inner to the outer corner, very close to her lash line, the color Potion. Then on top of Potion, I go in with Inside Job from outer to inner corner. And then I'm going to go in with that color called Temptress. But I'm going to go from the outer corner and stop about halfway down. I'm not going to take that Temptress color all the way to the inner corner. Now I'm buffing that out using a Morphe M213 brush. And I wasn't liking how it wasn't buffing it out enough for me. So I went in with the Morphe E18 brush to make sure that that was buffed the way I wanted it. I then decided that I wanted to extend her inner corners. I want this look to be dark and fierce because Slytherin is dark and fierce, people. And I'm using that same Maybelline gel eyeliner and this is a pencil brush from Tarte. And so I just use it to extend out her inner corner a little bit. And I went in with a little brush, I'll list down below, and black eyeshadow to extend the point as much as I wanted and blend the line to make it not look harsh and just make it look like a good shape. The next thing I went in with is the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Definer, and this is in dark blonde. She has a great shape to her brows, but I just wanted to darken them up just a bit, just because her eyes are so dark and dramatic. Next, I am highlighting her brow bones, and I am going in with the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette called Armed and Gorgeous, and I'm going in with the highlighting shade VIP, just to give some good contrast between her eyebrows and her eyelid color. We are now highlighting her face, and I'm using the Smashbox Spotlight palette in Pearl, and we're using Blow a Fuse Pearl. It's a very white type of a highlight, as you can see, and I really liked it in contrast to the darkness that I used on her eyes. Now I'm using the NYX Control Freak Eyebrow Gel just to set her eyebrows and make sure everything stays in place. Now was the really fun part. I am now going in with a black lipstick from NYX. The NYX Liquid Suede Cream Lipstick. And its color is called Alien. I wanted to put a black on her lips just to kind of go with the dark theme of this look. If you wanted to make this a wearable look, you totally could by using a nude lip and not extend those inner corners, and you could definitely make these colors work for every day. But again, we are going for dramatic, so that is what I'm going with. And when I'm using a really dark color, I like to use this tiny brush to help me smooth along the edges, and it just it really helps me to apply. Next, what I wanted to do was add a green coat. I originally wanted to find some green glitter lip gloss maybe, but I really couldn't. So what I did was I put Trickery, I scraped it off into a cup, and I mixed it with some clear lip gloss as a mixing medium, and I applied that all over her lips to give me a dark green sheen, which hopefully kind of shows up on camera. So this is the finished look, you guys. I think that this came out awesome, and I think that it represents Slytherin really, really well. I hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial and I was able to help you learn something. If you did like it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and click that little bell down below so that you know every time I upload a video. Bye, guys.